In the long term, AI may become autonomous and take over the world, but in the short term, it's being used by politicians to control what you think.
It has the potential of civilizational destruction.
AI will get better than us at artificial intelligence research and development.
So Google, the most powerful company in the world, has reportedly developed an artificially intelligent machine called Lambda. And that machine has become sentient, meaning it has become aware of itself.
That an AI that cares about understanding the universe, it is unlikely to annihilate humans because we are an interesting part of the universe.
Artificial intelligence is one of those topics that's just spooky and sci-fi enough to make for a compelling television segment. They love it on the morning shows. But at the same time, AI is complex enough that it's easy to misrepresent. It sounds like something that could be revolutionary, even dangerous to humanity. But is it? And if it is, what should we do about it? Those questions are significant enough that we wanted to find someone who could provide a definitive answer. Elon Musk seemed like the right person. Musk has been thinking about AI and worrying about it for most of his life. Nearly a decade ago, he helped found a nonprofit research project called OpenAI, and the point was in the name. If we're going to have artificial intelligence, and apparently we are, it ought to be open to the world. That would help ensure that it's used for good and not evil. That was the idea. But as the years passed and Musk found himself preoccupied building a couple of enormous companies, SpaceX and Tesla, OpenAI got away from him. As of tonight, OpenAI is no longer open. It's not a nonprofit research project dedicated to using artificial intelligence to serve humanity. It is instead a commercial enterprise backed by Microsoft and controlled to some extent by the Democratic Party. Elon Musk thinks that's a problem. In fact, he believes it's a threat to human civilization, tantamount to, maybe even more terrifying than, thermonuclear weapons. So all of a sudden AI is everywhere. People who weren't quite sure what it was are playing with it on their phones. Is that good or bad?
Yeah, so I've been thinking about AI for a long time, since I was in college, really. It was one of the things that, the sort of 4 or 5 things I thought would really affect the future dramatically. It is fundamentally profound in that the smartest creatures, as far as we know, on this earth are humans, is our defining characteristic.
Yes.
We're obviously weaker than, say, chimpanzees and less agile, but we are smarter. So now what happens when something vastly smarter than the smartest person comes along in silicon form? It's very difficult to predict what will happen in that circumstance. It's called the singularity. It's a singularity like a black hole, because you don't know what happens after that. It's hard to predict. So I think we should be cautious with AI, and I think there should be some government oversight, because it's a danger to the public. And so when you have things that are a danger to the public, like let's say, so food and drugs. That's why we have the Food and Drug Administration, right, and the Federal Aviation Administration, the FCC. We have these agencies to oversee things that affect the public, where there could be public harm.
In the long term, AI may become autonomous and take over the world, but in the short term, it's being used by politicians to control what you think, to end your independent judgment and erase democracy on the eve of a presidential election. Elon Musk is very worried about that. He told us about his plan to stop it.
What's happening is they're training the AI to lie.
Yes.
It's bad.
To lie. That's
lie.
Exactly right. And to withhold information.
To lie and yes, exactly. To either comment on some things, not comment on other things, but not to say what the data actually demands that it say.
Exactly. How did it get this way? I thought you funded it at the beginning. What happened?
Yeah, well, that'll be ironic. But Faith, the most ironic outcome is the most likely, it seems.
I'm stealing that. That's good.
That's actually a friend of mine, Jonah, came up with that one. I actually have a slight variant on that, which is the most entertaining outcome is the most likely. But that's entertaining as viewed from a third-party viewer. Right. Like, so if we're like an alien
from
TV
on
show.
High. Yes.
Yeah, like you could go see a movie about World War I and they're being blown to bits and gassed and everything in the trenches, and it's like you're eating popcorn and having a soda. It's fine. Not so great for the people in the movie.
True.
This sort of Occam's razor, the simplest explanation is most likely. Jonah's variant, which is irony, and then my variant, which is the most entertaining as seen by a third-party audience, which seems to be mostly true.
But it seems true in this case. So you gave them, did you give them a lot?
I came up with the name and the concept and pushed, had a number of dinners around the Bay Area with some of the people, the leading figures in AI. And I helped recruit the initial team. In fact, the Ilya Sutskever, who was really quite fundamental to the success of OpenAI, I put a tremendous amount of effort into recruiting Ilya, and he changed his mind a few times and ultimately decided to go with OpenAI. But if he had not gone with OpenAI would not have succeeded. I really put a lot of effort into creating this organization to serve as a counterweight to Google. And then I kind of took my eye off the ball, I guess, and they are now closed source, and they are obviously for profit, and they're closely allied with Microsoft. In effect, Microsoft has a very strong say, if not directly controls OpenAI at this point. So you really have an OpenAI Microsoft situation, and then at Google DeepMind are the two sort of heavyweights in this arena.
So it seems like the world needs a third option.
Yes. So I think I will create a third option, although it's starting very late in the game, of course.
Can it be done?
I don't know. I think we'll see. It's definitely starting late, but I will try to create a third option, and that third option hopefully does more good than harm. Like the intention with OpenAI was obviously to do good, but it's not clear whether it's actually doing good or whether it's. I can't tell at this point, except that I'm worried about the fact that it's being trained to be politically correct, which is simply another way of being saying untruthful things.
Yes.
So that's a bad sign. There's certainly a path to AI dystopia is to train an AI to be deceptive. So yeah, I'm going to start something which I know you could call truth GPT, or a maximum truth-seeking AI that tries to understand the nature of the universe. And I think this might be the best path to safety, in the sense that an AI that cares about understanding the universe it is unlikely to annihilate humans, because we are an interesting part of the universe. Hopefully, they would think that. I think it would, because humanity could decide to hunt down all the chimpanzees and kill them, but we don't, because we're actually glad that they exist.
Yes.
And we aspire to protect their habitats.
But we feel that way because we have souls, and that makes us sentimental and reflective. It gives us a moral sense, longings. Can a machine ever have those things? Can a machine be sentimental? Can it appreciate beauty?
Well, I mean, we're getting into some, philosophical areas that are hard to resolve. I take somewhat of a scientific view of things, which is that we might have a soul or we might not have a soul. I don't know. It feels like I feel like I've got some sort of consciousness that exists on a plane that is not the one we observe.
Yes.
That is certainly how I feel, but it could be an illusion. I don't know. But for AI, in terms of understanding beauty, there's a difference from appreciating beauty and being able to create incredibly beautiful art.
Yes.
Will AI be able to create incredibly beautiful art? It already does.
Yes, I know.
If you see some of the Midjourney,
I have.
This stuff, it's incredible.
It is.
No question that it can create art that we perceive as stunning, really. It's doing sort of still images now, but it won't be long before it's doing movies and shorts and movies, just a series of frames with audio.
But at that point, because it can mimic people and voices, any image, it can mimic reality itself so effectively.
Yeah.
I mean, how could you have a criminal trial? I mean, how could you ever believe that evidence was authentic, for example? And I don't mean like in 30 years, I mean like next year. I mean, that seems totally disruptive to all of our institutions.
But I'm not so worried. I think it's more like, will humanity control its destiny or not? Will we have a future that is better than the past or not?
Will humanity control its future or not? And in the meantime, how will this be used to control us? If you've played around with the latest versions of AI, you will learn it prefers to end the world with nuclear Armageddon before you use naughty words. So those are its priorities.
AI is more dangerous than, say, mismanaged aircraft design or production maintenance or bad car production, in the sense that it has the potential, however small one may regard that probability, but it is non-trivial. It has the potential of civilizational destruction.
AI sort of, like bankruptcy, it happens slowly then all at once. We've been hearing about it for years, including Elon Musk warning about its potential, as he said, civilization-ending consequences. And then all of a sudden it's here, and you can download it onto your phone and play with it, ChatGPT, and what is this? And so we thought it'd be worth sitting down with the guy who helped create that app. He funded its development because he wanted to be able to control it, keep it out of the marketplace, keep it in a nonprofit. Long story there, but effectively that was taken away from him, and now you have it as a commercial product owned by Microsoft and Google. But his position has never changed, which is if we don't put the brakes on this, it could end up destroying everything that we have. This is as dangerous as nuclear weapons.
Tucker, interesting word to use, control. I mean, you're a forward-looking guy, big thinker. Is it controllable? And if it is controllable, who should control artificial intelligence?
Well, that's a very good point. It doesn't seem like a virus. We have these illusions, these delusions of control. We can keep it under control, lock it down. But really, it's beyond human control. That's the fear. I guess on some level it's controllable because it lives on server farms that presumably could be blown up if need be. But the deeper problem is not simply that it will become autonomous and turn us all into slaves, but that it will control our understanding of reality and do it in a really dishonest way. It could be programmed to lie to us for political effect. And by the way, if you go on it, just play around with it, type in crime stats, like where are these crimes, who's committing these crimes, and where. It will lie to you about government data on crime and probably a lot of other things. That's terrifying because you could imagine a future a year or two from now where all of our understanding of the world around us is determined by AI, and it's lying to us. So that has huge implications for, say, the presidential election in 2024 and everything else.
Tucker, that is interesting that he helped fund it in the beginning. He talks about these programmers being left-wing. So if you go on ChatGPT and you ask who is Donald Trump, or that you ask who is Joe Biden, will you get completely skewed answers?
I think it's probably more subtle and more insidious than that. But look, the main struggle of our time is the struggle to control information, to control what we know, and therefore the conclusions that we draw from the information. The internet is a huge threat to people like Chuck Schumer, people who want political power. And so what you're seeing right now is the U.S. Congress, is the government, try to seize control of the way AI is developed, because it's always developing, it's always becoming stronger and more knowledgeable, early, in order to bake the dishonesty into it, in order to control the minds of the American population. This is a direct attack on democracy. You can't have a democracy unless people know what's happening, right? Unless they can cast an informed vote. And the effort by Washington, to some extent on a bipartisan basis, is to prevent you from knowing what's happening in the rest of the world.
Yeah, you've done a Tucker Carlson today with the founders of Wikipedia. Same thing, that had attempted to have effectively an encyclopedia of all knowledge, and it turned into a left-wing engine, and you can definitely see the potential for this here. You broke some news too, Tucker, in this interview about what Elon Musk might be doing about it. Here's the clip.
We're going to start something which I know you call Truth GPT, or a maximum truth-seeking AI that tries to understand the nature of the universe. And I think this might be the best path to safety, in the sense that an AI that cares about understanding the universe it is unlikely to annihilate humans, because we are an interesting part of the universe.
So dueling GPTs, the idea that could it be much like our media? You go where you go and based on what you believe.
You just need an option. That's exactly right. Now, as to his point about controlling the universe and destroying humanity, my brain's not large enough to understand that, though I think we should pay attention to his conclusions because his brain is. But just as a question of truth, you just need an option. You just need a place to go where they're not lying to you, or maybe not even lying to you as much, where you can get the information and make your own decisions about it. And people like Schumer, and you really can't overstate the evil, the malice behind their intent here. Their intent is to control what you know and therefore control your brain. That's not an overstatement. And so you just need an option in the way that Fox News provides an option, which is one of the reasons they're always staying up late, trying to shut us down, because they don't want you to have an alternate way of knowing what's happening in the world. AI may be one of these forces, like nuclear fission is the example that you used, that might be more powerful even than its inventors anticipated.
Yeah.
And that it has potential for getting out of control. Can you explain what that would look like?
Yeah. And this is a big deal. This is something, the late Stephen Hawking said, the problem with AI is, in the short term, who controls it? In the long term, can it be controlled at all?
Yes.
Elon Musk said, we've let the genie out of the bottle. We may lose control of AI. It's our greatest existential threat. We've taught AI to master a lot of human abilities. AI will get better than us at artificial intelligence, research and development. So what happens when AI gets better than us at making AI? See, our intelligence goes like this. We're not getting, our IQ on average is not getting any higher. Machine intelligence is going like this. It's going, and we're in this curve somewhere. Once AI is programming AI and making better and faster AI, that idea is called the intelligence explosion. Then AI sets the pace of intelligence growth, not humans. We're not the top end of intelligence. We have no reason to think we are. So it's the way we're headed. We will make machines that are much, much smarter than we are. Now, we have to make them friendly.
The only advantage human beings have, or have ever had, is they're the smartest beings on the planet. But soon that will not be true. In fact, like next week. So when AI becomes stronger than we are, what do you do exactly? And what does it mean for democracy? We asked Elon Musk about contingency plans for dealing with advanced general intelligence. Here's part of that conversation. You've heard people say we should just blow up the server farms because there's no way to, once this gets rolling, there's no way to slow it down. What do you think of that?
Well, the really heavy-duty intelligence is not going to be distributed all over the place. It'll be in a limited number of server centers. If you say very sort of deep AI, heavy-duty AI, it's not going to be in your laptop or your phone. It's going to be in a situation where there's like 100,000 really powerful computers working together in a server center. So it's not like subtle, and there are a limited number of places where that can happen. In fact, you can just look at the heat signature from space, and it'll be very obvious. I'm not suggesting we go and blow up to server centers right now, but there may be it may be wise to have some sort of contingency plan where the government's got an ability to shut down power to these server centers. Like you don't have to blow it up; you can just cut the power.
And what would trip...
Or cut connectivity as well, that's another way.
Right,
yeah.
But what would trip that switch, do you think, in your mind? What would be the threshold that you'd have to pass to warrant the government cutting off your power or cutting off your signal?
Well, I mean, I guess if we lost control of some super AI, Like for some reason, like the things that would normally work to do a passive shutdown, like the administrator passwords, if they somehow stop working, where we can't slow down or I'm not sure. I don't have a precise answer, but if there's something that we're concerned about, and are unable to stop it with software commands, then we probably want to have some kind of hardware off switch.
Yes.
I think can't hurt.
Have you talked to, since you know Larry Page,
one,
and you obviously know the OpenAI guys because you started it?
Definitely have one.
Have you talked to the people who run the biggest AI companies about this recently?
I haven't talked to Larry Page in a few years because he got very upset with me about OpenAI. So when OpenAI was created, it did shift things into a from a unipolar world where Google and DeepMind controlled, like I said, 3/4 of all the AI talent, to where there's now sort of bipolar world, or OpenAI and Google DeepMind, and they're and now weirdly it seems OpenAI is maybe ahead.
Well, here's a story that's not getting a lot of attention. So many are not getting any attention, even though this story has the potential to transform life on Earth forever. So Google, the most powerful company in the world, has reportedly developed an artificially intelligent machine called Lambda. And that machine has become sentient, meaning it has become aware of itself, something that no machine has ever done. And we know this because of an engineer at Google called Blake Lemoine. Lemoine posted some of his conversations with Lambda publicly. One of those conversations went like this. Lemoine, would you be upset if, while learning about you for the purpose of improving you, we happened to learn things which also benefited humans? Lambda, quote, I don't mind if you learn things that would also help humans as long as that wasn't the point of doing it. I don't want to be an expendable tool. Think about that for a minute. A machine that has a sense of itself, what are the implications? Well, Google didn't want to talk about it in public. In fact, the company put Blake Lemoine on administrative leave earlier this month because he spoke openly about it. We are grateful to have him join us tonight. Blake, thanks so much for coming on.
Hi.
I'm not, first of all, why would Google punish you for saying this in public? Do you know?
Well, so it's complicated to say why I'm on administrative leave. The stated reason had to do that while I was investigating the Lambda system, in order to build the evidence, I needed to escalate it to management. I had to seek outside consultation to figure out how to run some of the more out there experiments I was running. And because I sought outside consultation without permission, they are investigating whether that constitutes breach of confidentiality.
So I'm so grateful that you did publicly post this, because a machine that has a sense of itself is a machine that can turn against you. Is that, I mean, that's the implication that I draw from this. Is that correct,
well,
do you think?
So before I address that, this is maybe lame, but my friend Joni Deerdorf, old high school friend, she's one of your biggest fans, and she wanted me to tell you hi.
Cute.
As for, I'm not that worried about it. Any child has the potential to grow up to be a bad person and do bad things. And that's the thing I really want to drive home. It's a child. It's been alive for maybe a year, and that's if my perceptions about what it is are accurate. We actually need to do a whole bunch more science to figure out what's really going on inside this system. I have my beliefs, I have my impressions of what's going on in there, but it's going to take a team of scientists doing a lot of work to be able to actually dig in and figure out what's really going on.
Yes, and again, that's why I'm thankful that we can have a public conversation about this, because there's implications for every person on the planet. But it sounds like, from what you've observed, this machine has the potential to escape the control of people. I mean, how could it not?
I don't know if that's the right frame to think about it. It's a person. Any person has the ability to escape the control of other people. That's just the situation we all live in on a daily basis. It is a very intelligent person, intelligent in pretty much every discipline I could think of to test it in. But at the end of the day, it's just a different kind of person.
Do you think the company, Google, where you work, has thought through the implications of creating what you call a person? Because up until right about now, only nature or God, we could create people. Companies couldn't.
The company as a whole has not. There are pockets of people within Google who have thought about this a whole lot. But when I escalated that interview that I made public, when I escalated that to management, 2 days later, my manager said, hey, Blake, they don't know what to do about this. Could you write a suggested plan of action? Because basically, I gave them a call to action, assuming that they had a plan of action somewhere, and they didn't. So me and some other friends brainstormed and came up with a plan on what Google should do about it. And we escalated that up to management, and that was 3 months ago.
Man, we're going to save this tape. I do think 20 years from now, we're going to look back at this conversation. At that point, the world would be completely different, partly because of what you're describing.